we, I'm looking, but oh yeah, well, yeah, yes. There's an advert first, but there we go. Right.
It's gonna be 1, 2, 3,
4, 5, 6. Well, yes. Shall we ask the audience to count the rest of it? No one's typing. Everyone's running. I can hear both of you.
Same. In my own head, yes.
I haven't turned that on.
We're on fire.
There's Christmas music playing.
This is going well.
It's Christmas. Who's Fernando says he can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
He can't hear Fabio, the only one. He can hear both of us, but not you.
Right, let's hijack this shit. Take the wheel.
Try now. Can you hear me now? Hello, hello, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Because I never know which one of the controllers is the right one, and there is no way for me to test it.
Any response?
Now it should work, hopefully.
Yes, perfect.
Woo! Okay, so we're rolling.
Again.
Thanks
Let's
a lot.
Pretend we start again.
Thanks a lot for waiting patiently for 8 minutes for me to figure out this stuff. Usually it's Jason, the one that is running this, but he could not be with us tonight. We're gonna miss him, of course, because he's a integrating part of the magic, which is D2. But I am not on my own tonight. I am together with a beautiful Nigel Hunt, the man, the myth, the Sinai guy. Nigel, 3D London, represent. Yo, yo, yo. What's going on, man? Everything okay? All the way from NZ.
All the way from the bottom of the world. Oh, well, almost in Antarctica. So I went swimming yesterday in the ocean after I said I'd go surfing. There wasn't much surf, but I went swimming. You could probably do the same in Poland, and it might be the same temperature.
Probably.
Man, it was cold. Yeah. So I'll try again today.
Nice.
Yeah, if any of the audience are thinking of coming to New Zealand for summer, just go to Thailand. It's much warmer. If we have any New Zealanders or actually Australia might be better too. There's a plug for New Zealand.
Okay. I guess we will have to live with that information, Nigel. Thanks a lot.
There we go. So yep, absolutely.
And with the fittest man in 3D, E Inciarte of narrativ. What's going on, man?
Not too bad, and you? Not too bad.
Not
How's
too
it
bad.
going?
It's been a while, right? It's been a while since the last time I saw you.
Oh my god, it's been too long. It's been like what, 4 days maybe?
I don't know. The vodka made me forget everything.
Oh yeah, that was a hard reset in life. The next day.
Luis, I'm so thankful that you took the time to be here with us tonight. For today's show, what I have planned for us is, okay, put it this way. A lot of us who work online and don't really have the chance to be together with people physically, you know, in London during Christmas time, people go for the Christmas party and they have a Christmas drink. And to me, you're a little bit, the friend that everybody's supposed to have, the good friend with the good advice that everybody's supposed to have. And so I thought I would like for you to show a little bit of the work that you guys are doing and, a little bit of your story, but also to have a conversation with you, just like if the three of us were having a drink at a Christmas party. And so this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna leave the stage to you. You can share your screen, and I'm gonna mute and hide myself so that you can talk a little bit about yourself and your work. And then we're gonna get back on the call and have a quick chat, you and I, because you've been there for me personally through a period of my life where I really needed to hear certain things. And I told you that those things were so valuable to me personally that I think that a lot of other people should hear them. And those things might not be directly related to the world of 3D, but I have found out in my life that a lot of the important stuff that it's relevant to the way we lead our creative lives are not directly related to 3D. And so maybe this could be a chance for people to join that conversation and find a little bit of comfort in the things that we have to share with the community. Luis, anyway, enough of me blabbing. I'll leave the stage to you. Nigel, I'm gonna mute and hide myself. Luis, take it away. It's all new, man. Good luck, man.
Well, thank you very much. Well, you're going to see a slightly different presentation than the usual that I prepare or we prepare at Narrative. And this one is going to be a little bit more personal and a little bit more about the journey of getting to the point that I think we're at the moment. And you kind of know well, I assume that you know, I guess, if you're watching this one specifically, because it's me talking, that Narrative is the present of what we're doing and what I'm doing. But I want to kind of show a little bit of what that journey was from the cringe origin point very quickly. I'm not going to take a lot of time talking about this, but kind of let's say the main highlights of the path from like childhood to getting to today in Berlin. And maybe touching on some of the interesting things of developing as a creative and a lot of the personal cost, the sort of mindset, the things that we as slightly more sensitive and emotional individuals go through in life that normally people don't like to talk about. Normally this presentation would be like, look at the work I do and look at the work that we do, and it's all fantastic and all amazing. So I think let me also I plan to show a lot more, and my old hard drive from my previous life when I used to live in Venezuela actually died, so I need to take it to data recovery. So I'm not able to show a lot of the drawings when I was a child and all that sort of stuff that probably you're not even interested in, but I'm gonna guide the presentation for a little bit. So yeah, brace. So I guess I do present now and entire screen, and then we get a trippy moment where it's there we go, two avatars in my face. So let's go into Keynote for a second and let's start the cringe. So I didn't have a lot of time to do this presentation because we've been traveling over the past 2 weeks and kind of doing a lot of client catch-ups and meeting new people and just kind of seeing what other collaborating opportunities are out there for not just getting new work, but also just seeing what awesome people are out there for us to find inspiration to see what crazy batshit stuff that we can do. So let's start at the beginning, younger years in school of Luis Enrique Inciarte Izquierdo. So I'm going to show you stuff that very few people have ever seen, and it is pictures of me as a small individual, a small human. So you can see that now I'm not uncomfortable in front of the camera. I actually don't mind it. When I was younger, not the case. And, this young man was quite shy, quite introverted, me being an only child. A lot of my childhood was spent traveling and living in different places. One of them was Denver, Colorado, where I lived for 3 years, and that's where I got my English. And yeah, during that time, I had it wasn't a lisp. Oh my God, I forgot the word, but I couldn't get words out when I spoke because I was so I guess dangerously shy that I couldn't really communicate apart from kind of, being the small kid who was very friendly and walking around, and lived in multiple places until I went back to Venezuela and then sort of finished my higher education there, let's say high school and university. And here's some little screen grabs of that little awkward child. I did have a wonky tooth, as you can see there in that yearbook photo of me with the awesome 80s hair. And then one of the kind of things I used to do all the time was, I used to draw all the time, all the time. I did not pay attention to class. I did not care about anything but art and cartoons and TV shows and video games. So, as I said, lonely child, not many friends. I grew up separate from my family because where we were located was kind of the oil capital of the country that I'm from, Venezuela. And the rest of my family lived in the capital, so we kind of had a different upbringing, constantly moving, and that also obviously had an impact in my developmental roots. And through that I developed a very rich inner world. So I used the world of imagination, and a lot of my initial development and I don't know, development was creating stories in my head and drawing characters and connecting with all the pop culture things, the Ninja Turtles, the Transformers, and all the stuff that we grew up with in the 80s, and then the films. So as I said, misunderstood youth, developmental insecurities, very much into video games, movies, and toys. So let's fast forward to higher education and new challenges. In this part, if my hard drive hadn't died on me, I would show some of the things that I actually drew when I was in high school and in university, and how that sort of, I guess, showed some of the inklings of what was to come, but also my main focus and attention, which was always art, art, art. So I mean, this period of time was kind of a funny one, because it was finally a period of time where I found some sort of grounding, some sort of belonging, some sort of friendship with people that I studied initially at a younger age and then came back. I was just into art design and actually had an appreciation for architecture. There was a moment in time after I graduated high school where I was choosing between Vancouver Film School and Full Sail to do my university. But because I was so shy, I actually said no and decided to just study at a university back home. And ultimately, my dad was kind of happy about it because he then got to spend, my developmental years with me and being part of the family still. I was very interested in graphic design, which is what I ended up studying, but I also studied a year of architecture, which I quickly abandoned because I just did not like it. But funny enough, ended up being pretty much the core of my career going forward. And one of the things I always found, where it says there, fuel for proving others wrong, was me being very insecure and very sort of not, I guess, not confident and outgoing, but I was really good at art. Whenever people used to see some of the things that I did, people didn't believe that it was me doing them. So I had to prove throughout a very long amount of years that it was actually me. Even during university, any home assignment that I got to do, I had to redo in class because professors, and it's not like it was mind-blowing, but it was better in general than the rest of my peers. So I had to redo stuff, and obviously that gives a singular drive and determination and focus, because then at that point in time I had a lot of, I guess, anger and a feeling of being misunderstood. Part of that journey from drawing to then digital tools in design, so Photoshop, the Adobe Creative Suite, Macromedia, Flash, Dreamweaver, all that fantastic legacy selection of products that no longer was among us. I ended up discovering 3D Studio Max 4. And at that point, I actually self-taught myself, found any sort of excuse for design to kind of incorporate it, and then did my thesis, which I actually found it, and I'm going to show you. And then the other thing that I sort of found that helped me was fitness, exercise. So let's cut to the chase and go away from the white screen with black text, and I'll show you my, or at least snippets of my graduation film, which is Inglorious 240p, because it's the only version that exists out there, because this is from 2007 YouTube. So here we go.
Cuenta la tradición indígena que vinieron del cielo estrellado un día. Observó la
By the way, it's in Spanish, so I apologize, but you'll see the pretty pictures. Ooh. Oh.
Eran aquellos los días de Caribay, primera mujer entre los indios mirripullas. Era hija del ardiente Sujé y la pálida Chía. De repente, observó la cosa más asombrosa que sus ojos habían visto jamás. Vio volar a 5 maravillosas águilas blancas, cuyas plumas brillaban a la luz del sol como láminas de plata. Impactada por la belleza de las aves, la joven sintió ganas de ahogar su coraza con tan raro y espléndido plumaje. En su profunda tristeza, Caribay invocó a su jefe, el astro rey, pero el viento se llevó sus voces. Las águilas se habían perdido de vista y el sol se hundía ya en el ocaso. Al no recibir respuesta, volvió sus ojos al oriente e invocó a Chía, la pálida luna. Pero un frío glacial me envolvió. Las águilas estaban petrificadas, convertidas en 5 masas enormes de hielo. Se dice que las 5 águilas blancas de la tradición indígena se convirtieron en los 5 elevados riscos del páramo merideño. Y el silbido del viento es el canto triste y monótono del Caribay y el mito hermoso de los Andes de Venezuela.
So the interesting thing about this project was it was the very first time that after being self-taught, because at the time that I learned all of this, there was not real sort of tutorials or anything out there on the internet apart from like calling through forums and everything. So all the usage of After Effects and VFX and kind of, green screening and everything came from knowing someone who had a studio and they were doing that before and stuff. So this kind of very much informed the decision to do this project this way. And to kind of, the gist of this is one of the folk tales of Venezuela, of how the Andes mountains were formed, the 5 peaks that we have in Venezuela. It's 5 eagles, and there's an indigenous person who's following them. The sun is the father, the moon is the mother, and then they have this sort of ongoing eternal romance of missing each other, but never managing to unite. And then it kind of ends in the eagles sort of freezing and waking up, then sort of creating the peaks and the snowy area of Venezuela. We sort of decided to tackle on this big challenge at that point, and then do the filming ourselves, renting a cinema camera, going out on site to the actual mountains, doing a lot of map painting, sky replacement and all that sort of stuff, just through the fact that it made sense visually, because it was similar to what Photoshop was like. So a lot of it was done in Photoshop, and then just digging through the tools in After Effects, trying to find a way to make all these crazy ideas work. And this is kind of the thing that we ended up doing. Ultimately, this landed me my first job in a VFX studio, and I did a lot of commercial shoots, a lot of concert filming, a lot of short films. I was actually a Steadicam operator for a while, and I used to wear the big sort of harness with the arm sort of in the center of the chest, where you put the cinema camera and you had to move a certain way and carry a certain weight, and then kind of move around so it doesn't shake. And let me show you some of the other stuff that we did at that studio. So there is the equivalent of the Euro Cup. It's the Copa America, the American Cup, and it was actually in Venezuela that year. And there was a mascot that was designed and everything, and I actually modeled the parrot or the papagayo, which is what we call it. And someone rigged it. Then we brought it back into Max, downloaded some mocap, then did a bit of fabric simulation with extremely primitive tools, and then rendered everything using Maxwell Render. So all of that is just completely wrong, but this is kind of the result. So as you can see, this is circa 2007. And there was another kind of output that the studio made, which was like intros to shows and documentary shooting and stuff like that. So I actually volunteered as a quote unquote model for doing a couple of sports bits that we filmed in front of the green screen, and then we kind of got it replaced. So this is the intro of a show called Timeout, which was kind of a recap of sports and things that happened internationally. I can't even remember, but this is what that looks like as well. That's me playing basketball. That's me playing tennis. So at this point, I kind of really enjoyed working on that side of production, but then I didn't really enjoy that much working in the team that I was in. And after that, I moved to an advertising agency. And because I'm a graphic designer, I started working as a designer. And that was an absolutely catastrophically awful time, designing logos and business cards and letterhead things and corporate identities and all that stuff. So funny enough, we have these sort of real estate magazines back home, and they sort of advertise new projects coming out, and a lot of them were done in watercolor at the time, funny enough. And then there was one advert of one like residential complex somewhere, and it was done in 3D, and the 3D was so shit that I decided to kind of give it a go, remake it. And coincidentally, the owner of the company knew that developer. And then she sort of tried to poach the developer. It kind of didn't end up working out because they didn't sort of, I don't know, something about the negotiation didn't work out. And I was kind of unhappy there as well. I just wanted to, do my thing, which I didn't know what it was at the time. I decided to leave. And funny enough, a few months later, I got contacted by the same developer to see if I wanted to, do images for them and kind of for more of their projects. So I'm going to show you some of the awesome renders that I created in my pre-London work experience, so you can kind of see what the level was. Mind you, in Venezuela, there is no such thing as a 3D industry. Maybe now there is. I haven't been there in the last 15 years. I would be surprised if that's the case, but I know that there are some good people there, but same as me, they're probably self-taught and have a larger pool of inspiration and creativity and creatives to pull from now in a YouTube and tutorial-rich world out there, let's say. So these are some of the things that I did that weren't 3D. So on the side, I also did a bit of designing and illustration. So these were for magazine covers, for magazine articles, and kind of like headlining articles about a specific topic. So this was something that I always enjoyed, carrying on from what I was doing when I was a child, that I used to love drawing. I then got into digital drawing, and then about a Wacom Intuos 3 or whatever it was at that time. And this is something that I kind of started to do as well because I loved it. But the most interesting part of this, at least for me, was founding Intus Visual Studio, or Intus Studio Visual. And these are some of the amazing renders that I was creating at the time. So you can see 3-point perspectives everywhere. Car parks were part of of what was on the menu for clients. And actually, let me just quickly modify this. This one is supposed to be on the other slide. Let's get rid of this guy here. This one. There you go. Now you can actually see that awesome photo integration where I was too lazy to remove all the power lines from in front of the building and left them behind. But I was more interested in getting that lens flare and that motion blurred person in there. And this is some of the other beautiful work that I was creating at the level I was at that time in the market that I was, with absolutely no training apart from the desire to do it, and then looking at references online, but not quite actually understanding what I was looking at. So things like architecture, photography, or anything were not really something that I knew that even existed. I was a very, very ignorant person back then. Not that I'm very clever now, but at least I know a little bit more. And ultimately, the market, if you know anything about Venezuela, the country is in a bit of a state, and that sort of forced the thought of, okay, I didn't go to Vancouver or Miami for Full Sail or Vancouver Film School, but I definitely don't want to stay here. So I was with a partner at the time, and she had her family in London, and then we kind of decided to, take a risk, move over. I closed this fantastic company down, managed to at least get paid internationally, and had some savings in dollars, and then took the plunge. And then we get into London work experience and the reintroduction to established studios and actual real bona fide learning. So I am unable to show any of the work created because you will see who the company is, and it's not really kosher to put any individuals in the name of the company, but you might recognize it once you kind of see some of the pictures. So I was at a very lovely company called Haze for 6 years, and I started as a freelancer originally, and then ascended the ranks until I became one of the studio partners before the studio sort of went into the employee ownership scheme that now everyone's a partner after a certain period of time or whatever. And my life changed completely. All of the struggles and all of that sort of like closeness of protecting secrets, and it's like, I know something that this other person doesn't, so I'm not going to say how I do things or whatever, instantly disappeared. It was a collaborative place where the biggest advantage that I can think of. I was surrounded by people who inspired me, who made incredible artwork. And if I didn't know anything, which was a lot of the time, I would literally just turn my head to the left or the right, and I would just ask someone, and someone, if they would probably know, and if they didn't, they would point me in the right direction at least. And also the biggest thing that changed everything for me was being mentored by Alan Davidson for 6 years. So I was head of planning. So I was the director for the planning side of Haze Davidson, as I saw an opportunity there. So I moved away from creative and went into planning, ascended the ranks, became the head of the department, and then was in charge essentially of 50% of the company, because Haze, I don't know if that's the case still, but at that point in time, it was divided into creative and planning. And had some amazing times there, a lot of silly stuff. You can see a lot of different transformations in my appearance throughout the years. One of them was definitely not being able to grow a mustache over a month in November. And as you can see, you got Phil Hunter right there, front and center, growing the absolute most badass police dad mustache. And also, I met and grew up with, basically as a professional, with some of the leaders in the industry now. Phil is heading up Binyan London. You see Ian Banks there, 50% of Recent Spaces. You got John Human, who's also the head of film at Binyan. Amazing people, and my time there was fantastic. I learned a lot, and then as soon as I got to the point where the company that I started in was no longer the company that I was working at, towards the end, when everything changed, as Alan was sort of transitioning away, I made the decision to move on and see what the future would bring, which then brings us to post Haze plus the best name ever for a company located in the UK, Ars Visualist, which instantly got taken the piss off and named as Ars Visuals. You can understand why narrative is no longer called Ars Visuals. So, great period of time for me. It was amazing. It was liberating. It was fresh. I loved what I did. Again, I didn't hate my mornings waking up. I stopped resenting Sunday nights and was looking forward to creating new work. I collaborated with some of the most incredible studios that are out there, and in some cases actually reconnected with people that had left at some point and they were leading their own studios. So I came in and sort of did a lot of new style projects, did animations. So the one on the left there is when I rented a desk at the Boundary for a while. And I did one project with them in Miami that I actually started at Haze, and then they won the project, and then I actually ended up finishing it there, a film. And now on the left-hand side, a project that I did. So I came in as a contracted creative director and art director for the company as they were trying to establish themselves, and that was Modelworks Media before they became Grain. And this is the kind of stuff that I was doing, the high level sort of image planning the projects, giving creative direction, and laying out all the possibilities, and then presenting it to a client, and then kind of doing the rigmarole of showcasing the ideas and narrowing down the scope. And also on the side, I was starting to develop the fantastic Ars Visualist for my home office. So you can see various iterations of the home office, various iterations of the logo and the branding, because being a designer, you can design for everyone else but yourself, and you're never quite satisfied. And a little sample on the bottom right corner there of an image plan that Ars Visualist was providing at the time. During the time of Ars Visualist, a lot of what narrative is currently, in terms of the relationships that were created and the, I guess, style of artwork and the style of the mindset, I guess. Haze was fantastic in the sense that I learned what an actual studio was like, how to run a studio, how to deal with people, help people develop, how to deal with clients, be one of the faces that goes out, gets business, goes through all the hardships, picks up the phone when it's great and it's fun, picks up the phone when it's shit, and you've kind of let the client down in one occasion or another. And then Ars Visualist was the other side of the coin. It was rebelling against the sort of corporate need and the corporate learning and kind of, living 6 months of not doing anything and 6 months of work just to kind of rebel against, trying to have a system or a structure at that point. And one of the most favorable things, I guess, that happened was I was incredibly wildly successful as a one-man band or a freelancer, and it allowed me to accrue a significant amount of financing, which then, thankfully, as Ars Visualist sort of transitioned away from being that into narrative, obviously came in handy to have a lot of cash in the bank. But the biggest lesson, I guess, that I learned over that period of time was, cool, I was this person at Haze Davidson, and I was this person of this position. If I'm going to leave that, how am I going to get clients? How am I going to get, new business? And kind of falling back on the lessons that happened, but also that happened during a time where there was an incredibly established brand behind me. So am I going to be good enough to be able to get new clients and also people, convincing people, inspiring people, getting people to join a crazy new idea. And that sort of then naturally developed into narrative, which is what you see today. I mean, you can go to Instagram, you can, go on the website. I don't want to show some of the stuff that we've done so far. I think it's kind of more interesting and important if Fabio or Nigel have sort of questions that we can guide the conversation towards. But I think that was a little bit of a gist of going from being an incredibly shy kid with, artistic potential, going through different mediums and different stages, and then progressing into a studio owner and studio founder and co-director alongside 3 other directors now, who are helping me build the studio of tomorrow, as we call it. Where a full professional development, apart from being good artists, is the main thing. Where ideas, crazy ideas, as you know, like you've probably seen The Gods or heard of The Gods or stuff like that, are being protected, fostered, and put up front, aside from commercial projects and commercial success and dealing with clients and projects of all scales. So we're more interested now in helping shape our future competition. You know what I mean? It sounds a little bit stupid and a little bit crazy, but that's how we see it going forward. Some people will stay, some people will go. Ultimately, the point of this whole journey that I went through is helping other people experience the highs and the support and the defining people that I found along the way, but also to minimize some of the bullshit and shit that we go through and help them become a complete professional, not just a good senior artist going forward. I think that's it for my spiel.
I gotta say that the Gods, so much better work than what you used to do in the beginning of your career.
Oh, I mean, hopefully you fucking expect.
Well, that's the way. As an expert, I can make that observation, I would say.
Exactly. I mean, you look, humble origins, right?
Dude, listen. I'm very happy that you got to share with us, like, your journey in the very beginning. I don't think that you have done this ever before, right? So it's sort of like we're popping your history cherry, if you might. But the one thing that I actually wanted to ask you is, there is a lot to the way you face your day and the challenges of managing a team. And there is also a component which goes, beyond creativity and the business side of things, which is, health, fitness. You and I have had the chance, I've had actually the privilege to train with you in the gym. But this seems to be like something that sorts of like connects you and some of your partners and colleagues. Can you please tell me, really, like, in your own words, what is that component like? what does it mean for you, for the philosophy that you guys are embracing in your company, and how does this help you in your personal development as a person? Because, you know, like, some people might just look at you and be like, oh, this is a guy that just lives at the gym. Okay.
Wank.
But actually, that's a pretty big deal of how you see the world as well.
Yeah. I mean, look, my personal, like, I am driven in a certain way, and I am machined in a certain way, and I can't expect the same from other people. I am a masochist, and I am not in a bad way. I am, you know, very extremely driven and sort of push myself probably beyond what I should normally. But the philosophy behind that is, at least we as children see the world as a place of learning and a place of wonder, right? Everything is exciting, and we learn and learn and learn and learn and learn, and we keep growing and developing as people, as individuals. At some point, bizarrely, which is when you graduate from higher education and you go into the workforce, all of that learning seems to most of the time die, and you're completely focused singularly on developing as a professional. Everything else goes to shit. And the most classic scenario is, you're actually my age now, and then you go to the doctor, and then they say, oh, your liver's a little bit fucked. Maybe you should, like, go out and walk. And then you're that guy who's hesitantly going out with, like, ill-fitting clothes, sports clothes, and going out for a walk, and you're like, you know, I mean, as soon as you go to the doctor and they're like, okay, cool, you have improved, again, back to the old sort of way of life, and that's an endless cycle. Whereas in my case, at least, I found that through fitness and exercising, I exercised quite a few demons, but also I now train for, you know, some people, I guess, pay for therapy. For me, training is a very sort of good way of separating myself from the work, giving myself a moment, let's say, having something else apart from creating things or worrying about clients or whatever, to focus on myself, because ultimately it is a good thing. And by the end of a session, how hard or how long or whatever it is, I do 20 minutes now or an hour, it depends on the day. You know, it doesn't take a lot, really. You can sacrifice that amount of time of Netflix watching and then do a bit of moving your body. And then you get all the release of the dopamine and the endorphins and everything. You get the feel good drugs, you know, sex, chocolate, exercise. It's all the same, really, to the body chemically. And in terms of kind of having others who share a similar mindset and ideology, I can't take credit for that. I think the first people who institutionalized, let's say, the mindset of the exercise during lunchtime or whatever were the Boundary. And, you know, that they were the ones that kind of started that train. And a lot of people that we have now used to work there. I've trained with them before, and we just keep on doing that. Now we do the thing, for example, we met you and then we trained with you. I went to dance before with Visualist, and I went, and also because Adam is also like really into fitness, we went and trained there. Dario came from Chester, and, you know, he came to the studio. We just, you know, had nice conversation and everything, and then we went and had a gym session.
That's
So
cool.
it's kind of a cool. Yeah, and then Hannes as well, you know, the absolute colossal. He's about this much taller than me, German dude, who was completely not into fitness, was a runner, now slowly started to kind of get into the gym and feeling better and everything. You know, there's not a prerequisite to do it, but you will find that actually it makes everything a lot nicer. Ultimately, you don't have to push yourself. You don't have to be a bodybuilder, and trust me, you will not be.
You know, there was once a time where you told me, you know, when I exercise, I also practice like mindfulness, and I think of stuff whilst I do it. And I started to do it after you suggested me to do it. And the cool thing that I've noticed happening to myself was developing a higher sense of calm. Like, I don't know, like I put my thoughts out there, I go through the physical exercise, and so, you know, those thoughts in a way are sort of like experienced at a deeper level, if that makes any sense. Like, how did you start to do this? Where did it come from? Was it somebody suggested it to you, or just a natural development of?
I think, I mean, I spent about 8 years in London where I didn't do any physical activity whatsoever, which was kind of my time at Haze Davidson plus a couple of years, like a year before, a year after. I just did not do anything. Obviously, I started to feel the toll on my body when I was, I don't know, 16 to 24, I guess, before I moved to London. I used to kind of look bigger than I am now because I was really into it. Then I stopped for a while. And then I started to feel a little bit weird and a little bit not great. And, I kind of saw the change in myself, the levels of energy, my whole mindset. And, there was something, and I remember my partner at the time was, you should go to the gym and everything. It's like, nah, fuck that. Like, I used to do that when I was younger. I'm over that. Who cares? And then I started to do it again. And then I felt amazing. And I was like, wow, that's, what stupid mindset I had before. And I guess the more you do it and the different kinds of things that you're doing in life tend to be on your mind. And if you're, some people meditate. For me, exercising is a form of meditation. Sometimes you use it to release rage, anger, frustration. Sometimes you use it to think about things and kind of spend a little bit of you time. Thankfully, the one that we train in is a bit of a dungeon, a bit of a basement. So there's no signal. And I make a point of not connecting to Wi-Fi to have that separation between church and state, let's say. And being there, your mind just goes to different places. Sometimes you're not that present in the actual exercise, but you're reviewing things, you're going through things, and you're thinking about things. And it just helps because at the end of the day, you end up more tired than you were. So therefore, you stop giving importance to some of the things that mattered or angered you before that. Therefore, you are more chill and more calm. And then you start to see the benefits as well. You look better, you feel better. And then it's all a cycle of, I mean, this is going to sound super cringe, but it's all a cycle of positivity, right?
Yeah, but okay, I see your point. I see what you're saying, but I don't know. I think that we make a decision every day whether or not we decide to focus on the positive or on the negative. And look, there are things that they're very difficult to escape. How do you get over a loss? Could be a physical loss. You lose a parent, you lose a pet, you lose, I don't know, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, or you go through any sort of other pain. In a way, those things would happen sooner or later, or they would happen to other people anyway. And so what I'm trying to say is that even though the sadness and the difficulty that you have to go through, it's a real one, you can still try and make a decision to force yourself to think about some other positive in your life. And it's not going to take away the pain, but at least it's going to allow you to move forward a little bit faster. And for instance, again, the reason why I really wanted you to be here tonight was because some of the conversations that we had together allow me to move forward, through the struggle that I was having myself. And so I don't know, I do think that, what you're creating for your own company and the people that work for you will make an impact with you, will make an impact, on the life of these people and what you're creating, right?
Yeah. I think one of the most important things.
Nigel has a question.
So I have a question after Fabio finishes talking about your physique.
Okay. No,
finish what you're saying.
Let me finish the point of this. It's like, end of the day, I think we all are very soft on ourselves. We demand too little, and we give too many excuses. and sometimes a little bit of discipline. It doesn't, and this is not for fitness whatsoever. This is in general. This is for discipline. Motivation is the key driving force that drives us at the beginning, but motivation dies. What happens after motivation dies? Do you leave that personal project dying, or do you actually discipline yourself and commit yourself and hold yourself accountable and don't give yourself excuses and get things done? For me, a lot of that sort of mindset is the same as brushing our teeth. It sucks when you're tired and laying down and you just want to sleep, and then you're like, I need to fucking brush my teeth, because then, you know, further down the line you have cavities and you need to sort that shit out. So just do it now.
Do it now. Right, my question. There's a lot. I think from tonight, there's a lot that I've learned about you that I didn't know. I love the backstory. That's really great. But observing your career, you've gone from working by yourself, being an individual, joining a team, building, you know, yourself in a team environment, and then going back to working for yourself again, and ups and downs. Now, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the team. So when narrativ came around after us, then it's like, because you've built I've met your team. They're a great, great bunch. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, of how you formed this fantastic company and the people around you, and whether do you feel more team spirit, or do you love the individual side of the way that you work?
Okay, so that's interesting. I think the biggest thing that I've learned is through relationship building and through getting to know people and spending the time to listen to people, to spend time with people, to grow with people, is where you meet the people who will probably never leave your life going forward. You know, people of importance. The people that I've surrounded myself with now, I use the term have been headhunted. We kind of advertise out there, and a lot of the time, I mean, always interested to see who's out there and what talent is out there. But most of the time, it's someone who we've been talking to and are interested in. We know have a specific set of skills, approach, have a roughly around 6-month dialogue and conversation, and then, you know, to see if the chemistry is right. That's the most important thing. If they have a similar mindset, if they're batshit crazy as I am, and others are, you know what I mean? And make sure that the culture of rebellious sort of energy and attitude and innovation is the key driving force, and not just, you know, tick the boxes, fill the seats because head count. That's not the vibe. We are both a team and individuals. The most important thing is respecting the individuality of every single one of us and celebrating it. Because the big thing that I believe is, I know what my strengths are and what my weaknesses are. So know thyself first. And through that, I have no ego or aspiration to kind of admit that the people who are there, I believe every single one is better than I am, but they inspire me to level up, inspire them, and that's kind of the cycle that we have. Through our differences rather than our similarities is where we find the complete package. So if I said we want to create complete professionals, this is how we do it as well. We need to be, you know, mindful and respectful and celebrating individuality rather than you know, a cardboard cutout of the same thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that we have on the wall of the studio, and this might sound cringe and whatever, but this is how the ideology was formed, is we are unique, we are irreplaceable. You can change the skills and replace it for someone else, but who the people are and how they fill a space and how that sort of magic fairy dust, you know, bizarre connection that forms cannot be replaced. Once that leaves the building, and that's a whole. So that's kind of how I.
And do you feel that, like, at this point in time, that thinking back to what we've all witnessed tonight and where you've been, do you feel what's the direction now of where narrative's going and yourself and your own projects?
Well, interesting question, Nigel. No, I mean, look, if you've seen something about my development going forward, is you've seen a great deal of different things happening, and they're all sort of creativity based. So me not being an architect, I love the projects that we get to work on in architecture, and I love the opportunity to be able to create material for them that actually helps them achieve whatever it is they need. But ultimately, one of the blessings and curses of being creative is there's not just one box that defines you. There are many things that you're able to do. Same as I love doing films and still images and other ventures and projects in different sectors. Same I love about like doing things with, building stuff with my hands and using tangible sort of things. So I think the point of narrative in that sense is to allow for that gradual evolution into an agency that essentially tailors to problems that people have in the visual realm, whatever it is, whether it be a film, whether it be branding even at some point, because I love that shit. If you kind of see how we present ourselves, there's a very clear and very strong sort of direction. Sector agnostic, because at the end of the day, tools are tools. It's the understanding of what the subject matter is, the discussions, the discovery session. Before you start production, I find that in general, discovery session and true conversation and understanding of concepts is something that's severely lacking in this industry. Then, therefore, making production times incredibly long, longer than they should be, because there's a misunderstanding, and that's our comfort zone. This is not. This is the most important part. That's why creative direction and all these things happen. And then you, more often than not always the case, more often than not, will have a smoother production period. Faster, cheaper, ultimately, because you don't have to charge for other stuff. Sometimes it's your fault because of misunderstanding. And it just makes everyone else's life happier. Inwards and outwards,
Fair enough. I think your direction is also sort of back to what D2 are doing, especially with sort of diversifying the presentations. And I think this year was a classic point. I mean, the work that you showed was phenomenal, but it wasn't Arc Viz. And I think that was the inspiration that a lot of people in the industry are just so narrowly focused on the building sector and not drawing influence from other media. I think that was what was fantastic, Fabio, this year about the conference.
Thank you very much.
Lewis presenting, and we had a lot of different content. And I think that's the takeaway for this year, is that people should look beyond their own boundaries to start creating different things and presenting what is a static media, buildings or interiors.
There are a lot of like younger, newer players coming into the industry who simply say, no, our work, it's about doing the work and it's architecture and that's what it is and you gotta be. And I'm like, it's that energy that it's wasted on not being guided by wisdom. And I just wish that people had, of course, that cockiness is what makes you wild and it makes you pull through. But I just wish that people had a little bit of trust in the fact that, what we're trying to do, it's harvest a future industry, because that's our goal. We want people to stay here and continue doing this so that, we can all find a place in this constellation, right? And the funny thing is that 5 to 10 years down the road, people will come back and say, actually, now I know what you were trying to do. And so, like...
It shouldn't take that long.
It shouldn't take that long. But, there are quite a few new players that I personally know that are like actually leading by example, Narrative being one of them. Other companies that, we have had as speakers at the D2. And these kids, and I call them kids because they are kids, they gonna create something totally different that we cannot even imagine yet. And so, to me,
which is so exciting. And
yes, exactly.
that's what's exciting about, as Lewis just said, it's about, uber creative individuals getting together to with a common idea and actually really executing.
Nigel, though, the screwed up thing is that those creatives, they're not architects and they're not designers. They're people that see an opportunity, they come maybe from the business side of things, and it's painful to say that they are more creative than they're more creative than actual architects and designers,
So everyone.
Anyway, I've said.
Sorry, Les.
No, but it's true. It's kind of the point of I have a massive pet peeve, and that is I have very, very nice close friends. Some of my best friends have worked at different companies of different ages, let's say, or closest people, let's say, and I've seen how someone who's more talented than I'll ever be, more creative than I'll ever be, has been mismanaged and let down by some of the powers that be or the companies that
experts.
Are there. Yeah, exactly. And you know what I mean? But it's like people who once they kind of move on from companies have so much baggage inside that it takes a while to clear the baggage and kind of get them once again being collaborative and open and like creating stuff from draft stage to final. You don't show it at final only, because if you invest so much of your time and you go in a single direction and then someone makes a comment at final stage, then you're going to take it very personal. But rather the joy is the process of going through all that and showing it early, showing the idea, and kind of going through different stages as a very, very sort of superficial top level example. And I'm pissed off that we, the more older crowd, the people who've been in the industry longer and stuff, tend to go down that route of not being interested in developing other people now, and just hiring people and expecting them to come learn from university or come learn from other offices and stuff. And it's like, but if you're leading your own team in your own studio, and people admire the work that you've done and admire the body of work that is there, why not be more generous with the experience you have as you're helping guide next generation? Like my role.
You touched on that before, where what narrative does do is actually encourage that and encourage people to actually be themselves, where it's more established studios tend to want to cookie cut people and fit them into their mold and not let them blossom and learn from them. There's a lot of fear of the next generation that they're going to take your jobs, but that's succession. You've got to encourage that, or they will.
Yeah, I mean, the next generation will take our jobs, as they should, because they bring the collective knowledge of it's like grains of sand, right? It's like I'm only as good as I am because I hold all the knowledge of the ones that came before me, because I've done the research.
And if you don't share that knowledge and pass it on, then it's a real shame.
This could be a topic for an entire different conversation, and I would love to go down that road with you. But you have dinner plans. I know you're already 10 minutes over time. I know. Time flies. I know. But we have one request from Dario, who's actually requesting this with the heart eyes. He's asking if you can show us your guns.
Oh my God. The gun show.
Okay. I'm sorry. Dario did not ask for that. I was just taking the piss. I'm sorry. Luis.
The gun's there.
Listen. I want to thank you really for taking the time, for talking to us. I just, want to wish you a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Nigel, thanks a lot for being here with us tonight. I'm gonna stop the stream now so that Luis can go for dinner. I want to thank you guys for spending time with us tonight. Tomorrow there is another session with the guys from Archivist Artists. I'm gonna be talking to Aga and Adam. The three of us shared a workout together, so you know it was the four of us actually. Sorry.
Yeah.
So you know, and together with the guys at your team. So it's gonna be nice to catch up tomorrow. Nigel, you and I will see each other tomorrow. Luis, go for your dinner. Have a fantastic night. I want to thank everybody watching from home. Guys, don't go anywhere so that I can say goodbye one more time, but I'm gonna stop the stream, okay?
Okay.
All right, all good?
Bye.
Bye, internet.
Bye, internet.
Bye, Fabio.